most people that watch and consume paranormal content on the TV or on YouTube, most of them are armchair enthusiasts. They're excited about the genre, not paranormal investigators themselves, not ghost hunters themselves. And very often, I can speak from experience. I watched a lot of the shows before I went out ghost hunting myself. When I could, when I was, had the courage to go out and do these things for myself. Now, a lot of people choose to just consume the content. People, very often, what happens is the people that consume the content, including myself, way back before going out ghost hunting, we don't have a baseline of what's true and what isn't. So very often we can get fooled by what we see on the TV. Now, you would see a number of different devices and gadgets used on TV shows. None of those detect ghosts. There's no gadget, there's no device that detects ghosts. Now, people are under the impression that this, which is a Microsoft Kinect 3D kind of a camera, it's a structured light sensor camera that's used in games on the Xbox 360. People are under the impression, by watching Ghost Adventures, that this here detects ghosts and shows them up as a stick figure. But we get into that in a wee bit, and we get into the reason why this is on a tripod and not on a grip. We'll get into that in a wee second. Now, there's a number of different devices. I'm going to concentrate on three of the more common ones used by Ghost Adventures. The first one is the EMF detector. Way back in the day, there was this K2 meter that had little lights on it. People thought that when the lights went up to red, it indicated the presence of a ghost. Zach Bagans said very often that it is said that ghosts put off or emit electromagnetic field, which would indicate that there would be a ghost present in the area if you got a sudden spike in electromagnetic field. It's not the case. And apparently there is no known scientific evidence backing that shit up. And but electromagnetic fields can be important when it comes to buildings or a haunted location or supposedly haunted location, because what it can do is it can indicate if there was high EMF readings in certain parts of a building. If there was people's witnessed apparitions or whatever in a certain room, and if there was high EMF, electromagnetic fields can actually affect the human body. It can give you headaches, it can make you dizzy, and you can also suffer from illusions. So that is why, EMF is sort of important. anything to do with ghosts emitting EMF. There's no scientific studies backing that up. You know, so the electromagnetic field detector is not a ghost detector. It just it gives you a reading of the environment of the electromagnetic field. The electrical field is the current that is flowing. Electricity. Magnetic is the energy that is produced from a flowing current, especially say a coil. Electricity is running through a coil. It produces an electromagnetic field. A magnetic field, sorry. Now, that may indicate that, it could give a cause for certain people getting experiencing apparitions in certain parts of buildings. So, it's not completely and utterly useless. The other thing is temperature. You don't see a huge amount of amateur ghost hunters, taking temperature readings. Now, there is a lot of evidence behind paranormal events and sudden drops in temperature. If you're going to do these kinds of readings, it's important to do it sort of regularly, and in different areas of the building or the area that you're in. Now, you could document it by writing it down, writing the time down, or getting a piece of paper and a rough diagram of the room. Could be a square, could be rectangle or whatever, at different points in the room. And every so often, writing down the temperature, the time, in the certain parts of the room. Good idea too is to take the temperature, if you're in a building, to take the temperature from outside. What's the normal temperature outside? That would give you an average temperature of inside the building and outside the building, and sudden drops, over a short period of time, that would give you an indication that there's something interesting there. So that's temperature. This other device, which is the this camera right here, which you would see on Ghost Adventures. You would see the Xbox One or a more modern version of it. Although I think Bill Chappell made software and stuff for it. I don't, I'm not 100% sure, but you can get software on the computer to run these devices. A lot of people use these for, if they're doing 3D printing, to get a 3D image of a 3D scan of an object. To put it on a kind of a rotating little stand and scan the whole thing. They've been doing it with these. Now, it's an interesting piece of kit, but the problem here is, right? I'm not 100% sure what this does. I think this might be a receiver or what produces the stick figure thing, which we get into a second. This is the camera. Now this here is sends out little tiny little dots, and what they do, if you watch in night vision, or if you do ghost hunts in night vision, and somebody's using one of those, there's hundreds of these little dots, like a little laser grid that bounces that you'll see on the wall, little dots everywhere. What it's doing is actually it's measuring the distance from the camera to the object that it's hit. So that's how it's able to get a 3D image of the environment in front of it. And that's very good technology, actually. It's pretty interesting. Here's the problem. Have you ever seen a stick figure dancing like Michael Jackson? You've often seen it on Ghost Adventures. The problem is, you see these ghost hunters going around with this camera, and they're going around, and they've got a tablet here, and they've got a little hand grip, and they're walking around. And, you know, sometimes Zach Bacon says, oh, we're holding it perfectly still. And you see that it's actually shaking. What happens is, when I says the little red dots are coming from this, and it's hitting the wall or hitting another object, even the slightest movement, the camera has to calibrate the distance again, because it's not given a constant distance. Even a slight movement, the distance is off, so it has to keep calibrating. And then you will see these stick figures that comes up, arms, legs. That's what it's designed to do. It's to do with the players in a game. Now, what it does is it tries its best to map out a human figure that's in front of the camera. And very often, in fact most often, for example, if I put on the camera facing here, I'm nearly sure within a couple of minutes I will get a mapped figure right around here. You see where the corner of the wall is? And there will possibly be a dancing stick figure ghost floating around this area. Or possibly it'll pick up this. But very often what happens is it'll take a straight line, or it will take a straight line here, and it will try and make that out to be a human as best as possible, and it will try and put arms and legs on it, and it won't get it completely right, and that can be the cause of the little shaking about. Interesting thing is, you have the camera, you've got the image in the background here, you got your stick figure here. You will not see much of a difference of the area around the stick figure. There's nothing being picked up. It's completely invisible. So it will try and pick up these patterns, the sides of these pictures, the corner of this room or whatever. But where the stick figure is, you won't see an anomaly around it in clear vision. It's not picking up a ghost. It's trying to pick up a body. It's trying to pick up a shape of a body for this game. It's not ghost hunting equipment. So, and I can't believe that in 2025 that, you know, Ghost Adventures are still running with this technology. Now, you know, apparently Bill Chappell works on software for these things that is different than what we can normally get. But still and all, it doesn't indicate that it is a ghost. Because it's not a thing. It's not, there's nothing else that backs that up to say that it's a ghost. Now, the first time I've seen a stick figure on an investigation, I got very excited. You know, I got very excited, going, wow, there's a stick figure sitting in a chair. It was mapping the chair. And I got really excited, but I didn't know any better. And it's okay not to know. But, you know, it's important to get the proper information out there. Some of these TV shows or big channels don't want you to know about the equipment and what it does because that would give it things away. You know? Personally, myself, I don't find this very useful at all. Although it could be. Now, if I was to use this, there is an option to actually turn the stick figure off. But then it's just a camera. Maybe some of the 3D programs, the three-dimensional scanning may be useful. But it's just not, and the resolution isn't as good as our modern ordinary cameras. So I don't tend to use it. It doesn't tickle my fancy, if you know what I mean. But certainly, if you were to use it, put it on a tripod and leave it alone. Don't walk around. If you walk around with it, it's just trying to calibrate all the time. It's calibrating and it's measuring all the time. If it's standing still, there's nothing on front of it, it doesn't have to calibrate because it's got the measurements. It's perfectly still. But once you start moving it, it has to calibrate again. It has to measure again. Got to remember, those dots, they're measuring those dots. That's how it makes the 3D image, So there you have it. I hope you understand that. Don't get too excited about 3D imaging, about the stick figure. Maybe that technology, with a bit of work on it in the future might have something, but my personal opinion with the stick figure just, it gives you a suggestion. That's all it does. It just gives you a suggestion, and very often it's mapping. It's trying to make a human shape out of random patterns of what it sees. So it's not picking up a ghost as such. It's not picking up spirits or anything like that we can't see. It would be more interesting if it mapped something and there was a dark anomaly around the image. Then you might have something. Some say, they will ask questions. Can you raise your right arm? Can you raise your left arm? And stuff like that. There's too many false positives, if you know what I mean, for that to be an accurate piece of equipment. Some people will go out and use them, and they will try and test it by asking the stick figure to jump up and down, or put the arm up, or put the left arm up, or that kind of thing, or move your head, or that kind of thing. But there's too many false positives to make it a serious piece of equipment. And certainly if I'm messing around at home here, I turn the stick figure off, which you can do, So I just thought I would give you a couple of things about equipment. It's another thing. You got these little flashy balls used for playing with your cat. My suggestion and my opinion is just give them to your cat. Because these balls can go off randomly. I've seen an investigation lately where these investigators put these flashy balls on the stairs, and the stairs was in front of them, and it says, right, if there's anybody here, can you make the balls flash? And they were talking out loud, and the ball flashed. And they're going, wow, the ball flashed. And once they said, wow, the ball flashed again. And they're going, wow. And they say, flashed again. Wow, are you here? Flashed again. What I think was happening there is, when you project your voice, you ever notice in some rooms, you say a completely empty kitchen table. Put your hand on the completely empty kitchen table and have somebody on the other side of the room shouting or talking very loudly. Very often, you'll feel a vibration through the table. That's what I think has been happening with these balls. You know? Yeah, we used them before. We used them on a beach. I says, right, these shouldn't go off because we're putting them in sand. The problem is, the water wasn't that far away. And it was going in and out. Because we're at the sea, it's going in and out, and it's causing vibrations under the ground. And we've had these balls going off. You know, I at the time I says, right, we don't need them too near the water because, you know, it'll cause vibration. So we'll put them up the beach. But the possibility that the waves coming in and out was still causing vibrations in the sand and making these things go off. So there's other possibilities. The thing is, and TV shows will not tell you this. What you should be looking for is a logical explanation first, before you even talk about paranormal entities or paranormal events. Look for logical explanations, because very often that's what happens. They're there. Sometimes the logical explanation isn't completely logical to us, because if we don't understand that, you know, if we raise our voice, we can cause vibrations on wooden structures like I'm in right now. You know, yeah, it's you know, the people that enjoy paranormal content and absolutely think it's absolutely true all of the time, because these people are famous and they're on the TV, or there's a lot of things they won't tell you. Very often, it's very common with ghost adventures. Zach will debunk something that's obvious to make out that he's actually debunking stuff. But then he won't come up with a logical explanation for other things. And then, you know, say, well, this can't happen, it can't be a dust particle or bug or whatever, but won't make any effort to actually debunk. These, you know, it'll come up with debunk on the screen. Oh yeah, we're debunking stuff, so we're legit. That's just a smoke screen. There's lots and lots of other things that they just refuse to debunk because they want that excitement. They want people to get excited about things. But they'll throw in the odd debunk here to make themselves look legit. Not exactly, you know, not exactly being 100% honest. You know? And if you decide that, you know, you're watching TV and you want to go out and you want to try a few things yourself, that'll give you some sort of a baseline to understand what's reality for you, going out, doing these things, possibly in the beginning copying what these other people do, which is, everybody does it. Everybody has the same way of doing things. But I think it's important to try and think of different ways of doing it, if you know what I mean. Yeah, when it comes to YouTube, you don't get very far if you don't make it exciting, entertaining. You know, that's why sometimes when we're on investigation, I like to give people all the footage. The entertainment bit is when one of us farts and we laugh about it. That's it, But yeah, it's just I'm sort of trying to explain things from my point of view as a viewer of the paranormal, and it something that fascinates me. It fascinated me. Gee, these people are going out and all these things are happening. I want to experience that. And at the time where I was doing more watching than do anything else, when I got a bit better head-wise, I want to do that. I want to experience for myself. It's not enough. The hunger's there, and it's just at this point watching the shows isn't feeding the hunger anymore. I have to go out and do it. And I go out, and my expectations were kind of dashed a little bit. Yes, things happen. A lot of the time, it can be explained. You're going to make mistakes. I most likely made a fool of myself a lot when I was ghost hunting and stuff like that. And that's okay, you have to learn somewhere. Learning is about the mistakes that you make. And then recognize that you made mistakes, A lot of the time I haven't looked at any of my ghost hunts in a very long time. Because most likely I'll point out I should have done this instead of this. It's all about learning. But the one thing is very important is to keep a level head. Instead of going out, having this expectation, we want to get some paranormal activity. We want to get that excitement. We want go out with a clear head, a clear mind, that you may not get something. And when something does happen, don't get overly excited about it. Try and be rational. People often say, something's happened, and I'm just not, I don't look overexcited about it. I go, wow, that's kind of weird, because I try to see, the first thing that comes into my head is, how could that happen? What way logically could this happen? And that's the first thing that should be it should be drilled into your head. Just like when you get into your car and you grab your seatbelt, you put it on. Logic. Most things can be explained. It's the other 2% or whatever, or the small percentage outside that, that's where it gets puzzling. Doesn't mean that it's 100% paranormal. It may be that we just don't understand. There's something that we possibly missed. So it's very important that you just don't label something as paranormal, because there was times that I thought this is a paranormal event, and then I do more investigations, I do more ghost hunts, I learned a little bit more, and I go back to this other thing and I said, oh no, it's not what I think it is. It's something perfectly logical that I just didn't understand at the time. So I just thought I would share that. Equipment, don't have a problem with a lot of it, just some of it, and the way it's used. Like the EMF. I got excited with EMF spikes before too, on top of a mountain where there was no electricity. But there could have been a logical explanation. I was saying, if there's anybody there, can you make it flash twice? And it did. Is it possible that it was? I've no way of telling. Do you know what I mean? We got to remember that we're bombarded with frequencies and EMF all the time. It's produced by lots of pieces of equipment. Your phone, cameras, TV screens, etc., etc. It's just important to just... the most important parts of the paranormal and gathering evidence is the visuals, which don't often happen, and the audio, which is the most common thing that happens. It was an interesting point. I've been watching Richard Felix, and he's interviewing, or he's doing a ghost hunting video with Steve Parsons and his team. And Steve Parsons says people often get mixed up that what is electronic voice phenomenon, EVP, and ITC. Apparently, and I got this wrong as well. I was actually quite surprised, but actually understand. EVP isn't... Do you know, like when somebody's going around with a camera and they're filming a location, and then they pick up a voice. They pick up a voice that's not theirs. People call that EVP. Partly it's not. Partly it's ITC, instrumental trance communication. The only way it's EVP is if it's... Some people, the modern ghost hunters won't be too familiar with it. When you produce an unknown voice from a sound source, so it's like a long time ago, the earlier researchers used to put on a recorder and put on a radio to feed a little bit of static, and the theory around that is that the communicator, the DVP sticks to the sound source. Like running water, static from a radio, etc. Partly that's EVP. So I've been getting it wrong all along myself. Very interesting. But anyway, I'm going to go. Talk to you soon.